fought in the Second World War. He was only a sergeant. And then he came back. I was born before my father came back. So I never knew my father until he came back from the army. And so I was raised by my grandfather. That is Deji. And I think Rudy Okonkwo know about this. Deji Afunbiowo Adechida the first, 1897 to 1957. That was my grandfather. He was the one who raised me, he and my grandmother. I never knew my father until my father came back in 1946 after the demobilization. The war ended in 1945. My father returned to Nigeria in 1946. That was when I ever met my father. So, and I was living in the palace. I thought I was a prince. I thought I was a prince, really. In fact, my first name was Hitler Adechida. Hitler Adechida. So when my father came, the first thing that he said was to raise alarm. How did you people come? Naming my first son, Hitler, of all names that could be given to a child. That was the name they gave to me. And I was bearing it with the pride until later, as I grew up, I discovered that Hitler is a bad man. So I went back to my parents and I said, why? I never saw another Hitler, only me. Why Hitler? And then they explained to me that Hitler, they thought that Hitler was a hero who took the whole world in a war and almost defeated them. Therefore, he's a hero, he's an lucky man. So they thought that when the baby was born and the father was fighting in that war, it is nice to give the name of Hitler to the son. That was how I became Hitler. But I got it changed. I said, no, I'm not going to bear that name. And I'm sure it was the right decision on my part. Because if my name was Hitler, America would never have given me visa to come here. I would never, most of the nice positions where I served, nobody would have allowed me to serve in it. So it was just by luck. So I returned to the same thing. When the British Canadian Legion Scholarship came, they decided to give to 4 countries in Africa: Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Gambia. The one scholarship that went to Nigeria in 1963 came to me. I was the one who got it. And how did I get it? I got it because when they had the interview, they first of all had the interview in the region, in the Western region. I took part in it. They picked me to go to Federal. And it was held at Caseway in Ikoyi, presided over by an Hausa man. So when we did that interview, when I was living in Akure, I've never visited Lagos before. It was my first time of going to Lagos. My father had to give me to somebody to take me there. So I went there. But before I left home, my father said, a wise man. My father said, this interview that you are going for, you may get there and they will ask you, prove to us that you are actually the son of a civil servant, of a military man. He said, what would I say? I said, I would tell them that you serve in the military. I knew when you came back, he said, it's not enough. He said, take the 4 medals that I won and my military number, 36388. You see here, it's hanging on my wall here in my house here. My father in full uniform with the number. So my father gave me the medals and the number. And I took it with me. Behold, and behold, that was the last question they asked all of us. 15 of us. We were sitting in a row. And they said, okay, we've almost finished the interview. We now want each and every one of us to prove that really your father actually went to the military in the Second World War. I couldn't believe it. All the others, they couldn't produce anything. I just opened my portfolio. I said, my portfolio. I opened it and I brought my something. I gave it to the chairman of the panel. When he read it, he said, yes. He said, thank you. We've taken a decision. I was the one who got that scholarship in Nigeria. And that scholarship took me through my University of Ife for 3 years. That was why. And when I left the place, that was the foundation to all the education that I have. Simply because my father was wise enough to give me his number. Because up to that point, we all answered questions very well. But when they asked, did your father really go? If your father go to the Second World War. Prove it was. And that was how I got him. So, in fact, anytime I talk about this thing, I get very emotional because, okay. All right.
All right.